Hey there, this is Shawn Turner coming to you live from the Turner Flowers ribbon rack here. Had several of you ask about tying bows, and so today we're going to have a quick demonstration on how we tie an old-fashioned floral bow. Now first I should tell you that there's three main widths of ribbon. And the width of ribbon is not based on a measuring system that you're used to necessarily. It is a French system of measurement called the Lane system, L-E-I-G-H-N, in which with the Lane system, this is number 3, this is number 9, this is 40. Has no correlation whatsoever to any measuring system that you've probably ever encountered before. But there's also 1.5, there's also 16, lots of different measurements. 3 is what we would use for, say, a bud vase. 9 is what you'd use for a 6-inch potted plant or for a dozen roses. 40, the wide stuff, is more for casket sprays, big memorial arrangements, things like that. And so we're going to do a bow out of number 3, a bow out of number 9, and a bow out of 40, starting with the small because there's some different techniques with each of those. Let's give it a shot. Alright, starting with number 3, I've got a measurement down here to the corner of the design counter that I use, and I do about 2.5 pulls. But you don't have my design counter, so we're going to do the old-fashioned measurement that you reach as far as you can and go to your nose, and that's a yard. And so it comes out to about 2.5 yards that I use to make a bow. And we're scrunchers here at Turner Flowers. Some people that tie bows are twisters and scrunchers, or as we say it, scrunching and doing it wrong. So with this number 3 ribbon that we've got here, we are going to come up about 3 inches, and I like to use my dominant hand to scrunch it. And so scrunching it does not mean folding it in half. It means that these fingers are crimped tightly together, and then I've got, if you can see there, 2 fingers and 2 fingers, and it creates some tension on that ribbon. And then I can push the ribbon into those 2 fingers that are on there. Now I'm holding firmly but gently. Tying a bow, you'll find, is a lot like driving a car for the first time. Think about the first time you got in a vehicle, you were nervous, you were white knuckling it on that steering wheel. And if you white knuckle your ribbon, A, you're going to get wrinkles where you don't want them and it's going to look awful. 2, your hand's going to cramp before you get the bow tied. So we want to avoid hand cramps if we can. So gently but firmly. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create some loops. And so I created a loop. You don't want the loop to be really floppy, and you don't want the loop to be too small. Just like Goldilocks porridge, we want that loop to be just right. So on a number 3 bow, I'm shooting for about 6 inches in diameter here. I've created a loop to the top, loop to the bottom with my tail. Everything's getting pushed in from the side. Nothing's getting layered on the top of it. Nothing's getting layered on the bottom. Everything is just getting fed into the side. And so I'm going to get to where I have an odd number of loops. 2 on the top, 1 on the bottom, or 3 on the top, 2 on the bottom. And I'm going to stop. So I've got an odd number of loops here. I've got 3 at the top, 2 at the bottom, total of 5. It's an odd number. Then I'm going to take this ribbon, and you'll see it's shiny on one side, it's not shiny on the other. It's single-faced satin. So I always want that shiny side to be out. With every loop, shiny side out. Now that I've got an odd number of loops, I'm going to make a loop that's just like a roller coaster. It's going to go up and over my thumb, get scrunched in between those 2 fingers, and come right back out where it started. So I'll show you again. I had my ribbon coming down. I made a loop that went over my thumb, I scrunched it under my thumb, and I came right back down where I was. And what this tight loop is going to do is cover my mechanics later on so you can't see the wire as well. And so then, once I get that center loop, I'm just going to finish going top, bottom, with those ribbon loops until I run out of ribbon. Just like that. So now your hand's probably cramping, I would guess. Mine's not. Your first 1,000 bows are always the hardest. And I'm trying to cut wire left-handed when I'm right-handed. Should have thought that through. And I'm going to take this piece of wire. I'm going to pass it through that middle loop, bend the two halves down, put my finger between the wire. Now's when an important piece comes. I'm not going to twist the wire, I'm going to twist the bow. So we're going to gently grab the bow and we're going to twist it not more than 3 times, because by about time 3.5, if you're using fine wire, it will break and you'll say all sorts of little dirty 4-letter words that you shouldn't be saying. So once I get those 3 twists on there, nice and tight, then I can fluff these loops and make them do whatever I want. And you have a bow that looks something like this. Now that bow can be put on a wooden pick, it can be tied on a wreath, it can be tied on a plant, it can be tied on a present that you're going to give someone for their birthday, anything like that. And so just one simple little bow with number 3 ribbon. Now we're going to move on to number 9 ribbon. The wider the ribbon, the more challenging tying that bow becomes. But the easier it becomes to see what you're doing as well. So I'm going to go ahead and cut my wire ahead this time, so I'm not trying to do it left-handed later. Again, I've got 2.5 yards of fabric that you can measure with the nose and arm method, or you can use a yardstick, whatever works well for you. I'm going to come up here about 3 inches. I'm going to create some tension with these 2 fingers and these 2 fingers. Have my thumb and middle finger together, and it's just going to get scrunched in there. Now, I want to show you here, again, that this is not folded in half. Look how many little folds are there when I do that scrunch. Lots and lots of tiny little pleats. And getting those in there nice and tight is what's going to make your bow be tight. It's going to what makes your loops stay where you want them to be. Again, we're shooting for about a 6, maybe 7-inch diameter bow. I'm going to just feed these loops, again, right into the side between those 2 fingers. Nothing's getting tied around, nothing's going on the bottom or the top. Everything's getting fed in from the side. As you would imagine, we are going to get to an odd number of loops again. So, again, I'm going to get to 3 on the top, 2 on the bottom with my tail, and I'm going to stop. Don't worry about where the loops are going at this point, as long as you're holding them firmly and gently. I'm going to take this, make sure the shiny side is out, and make a gentle loop over my thumb, scrunch it right back in, and the tail comes out from where it started. I'm just going to keep feeding these loops, top, bottom, until I run out of ribbon. Again, we're going to take our piece of wire, feed it halfway through the middle loop, bring the 2 halves back. I'm going to put my finger between the wires, twist the bow, again, not more than 3 times. It's going to pinch your finger right here because you're twisting that wire against it. I was always taught as a kid, if it hurts your finger, it's a good bow. So now that you've got it nice and tight, you can manipulate those loops, get them to go wherever you want them to be, and you've got a nice bow there. Now, I want to show you one other thing here, and that is if you want some tails. If you think about bows that you see on Christmas wreaths or on nice packages, anything like that, they a lot of times will have some tails that hang down. So I've cut 3 pieces of ribbon that are about 1.5 feet apiece. I've cut myself another piece of wire here so that I'll have it ready and not be cutting left-handed. And we're going to just go ahead and make another bow here real quick. So scrunch. We're going to go top, bottom, until we have our odd number of loops. Notice our shiny side is out. I'm going to throw that nice middle loop up over our thumb. Scrunch it in there as well. We're going to finish the rest of this 2.5 yards of ribbon. Top, bottom, top, bottom. Got one more there. And then we're going to take these pieces of ribbon that we cut. Again, shiny side out. And I'm going to scrunch them one at a time right into the bow. They don't have to be exactly in half. They can be staggered a little bit. I'm going to take that wire, go through that middle loop, around the bow and the tails. Put my finger between the wire, twist the whole thing 1, 2, 3 times. Now, when I fluff this bow, we've got all these cool tails hanging down on the bottom. If this was bright blue, you'd want it on your steer at the county fair. So, simple bow by itself, simple bow with tails, number 9 single face satin ribbon. Last bow we're going to do today, number 40. This is probably the most challenging width of ribbon that we use on a regular basis here at the flower shop. So again, I'm going to do 2.5 pulls, which is 2.5 yards. I always cut my ribbon at an angle. Let me show you something here real quick though. Let's say you've got your ribbon cut at an angle, but you'd really rather have it forked. I'm going to fold this in half, like so. Cut it at an angle, and now you have a perfect tail like this. You find that if you try to go and cut, you go a little bit past the middle, and then you end up and you cut up too far. It just kind of makes a mess. But if you fold that ribbon in half, you get a perfect crisp tail. So we've got our ribbon here. Again, shiny on one side, not on the other. It's single face satin. We're going to start 3-4 inches up here. A lot of ribbon. Still got my 2 fingers here, 2 fingers here, creating some tension. These 2 fingers that are going to be my scrunchers. Like so. I'll show you again. Look how many folds there are when you scrunch. We're not folding it in half, we're not folding it in thirds. There's lots and lots. Pleats for days. So, make sure that when you scrunch, you're getting all those folds, because otherwise it's not going to be nice and tight, and it's just not going to be able to look the way you want it to look when you get done. This is about an 8 or 9 inch width bow, and I'm going to stop at this point when I have 3 loops. 2 to the bottom, or 2 to the top, 1 to the bottom with my tail. Same method as before to make a single loop that rides over the top of my thumb, and then I'm going to finish bottom top until I run out of ribbon. If your hand was not cramping with 3 or 9, it will be cramping with 40. That's actually quite a bit to hold on to. Again, these big bows are something like you would put on a casket spray or a big memorial arrangement, a big plant. If you needed some, you could add some tails in, just like we did with the number 9 ribbon. I've even done some bigger bows for, say, when a parent is surprising a kid with a first car, and they want that bow to be on the windshield or the roof of the car. Big ribbon, hurts your hands, holy cow. So again, we're going to give that a twist, make it nice and tight. If it's not tight, the loops will not stay where you want them to be. And you have a nice big bow that's ready to use for a larger plant or a larger floral arrangement. Same technique, 3 different sizes of ribbon. If you use the wire edge ribbon, it's a lot easier to fluff later on because you're able to move the loop anywhere you want it to be. But it's that same scrunching method that's going to get you to the point that you can use that wire edge ribbon to make the loops the way you want them to look. So if you have any questions about bow tying, feel free to shoot me an email, Shawn at turnerflowers.com. That's SHAWN at turnerflowers.com. Thank you much. We'll see you later.